All right, let's dive into the world of a creature that really packs a punch for its size, the cookie cutter
You
shark.
got that right.
Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into how this shark thrives, not just survives, thrives in the deep ocean.
It's a great example of evolution really giving an animal some serious tools to take on the deep sea.
So first off, can you give us a little picture? What does this shark even look like?
Well, picture this. It's a shark, right? Maybe only about half a meter long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, almost kind of cute, actually.
Really?
Dark brown kind of color with this bioluminescent belly.
Oh, cool.
But there is a but until you get to its mouth. That is where things get interesting. It's got a super unique jaw structure that is really the key to its survival down there.
Okay, the mouth. Now, I've heard whispers about this being called a cookie cutter.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Huh.
the shark gets its nickname from the perfectly round chunks of flesh that it removes from its prey. It literally looks like someone took a cookie cutter to the animal.
Oh, wow. So how does it make that shape? What's so special about its jaw?
Well, you know, the secret really lies in the teeth and the lips. Now, the upper teeth, those are tiny, almost useless, really. But the lower jaw, that's a different story.
Yeah.
It's got these razor-sharp teeth, almost like a saw blade, all perfectly aligned and ready to just slice.
Intense.
Yeah, but teeth alone, they don't make a cookie cutter shape.
Right.
That's where the lips come in. See, the shark also has incredibly thick lips.
Okay.
And these lips, they act like a suction cup, so it can attach itself really firmly to its prey. And once it latches on, it rotates its body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and uses those razor-sharp teeth to just carve out a plug of flesh. Really, it's surgical precision.
So it's the suction and the rotation.
Precisely. And this whole feeding strategy, it's really what sets this shark apart, you know? It doesn't kill its prey like a lot of predators do. Instead, it just takes these smaller bites from a bunch of different hosts, almost like, think of it like a farmer tending to crops.
That's an interesting way to put it. So we've talked about the mechanics of the bite. How does this help it survive, though, in the deep ocean?
Well, remember, we're talking like incredibly deep waters here, like
Wow.
3,000 meters, even deeper sometimes.
Oh, wow. That's way deeper than most people think of when they hear deep sea.
Absolutely. And down there, resources are really scarce. Food is hard to come by. So by taking these smaller bites from different hosts, it ensures it has a steady supply of food, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to expend all that energy to take down, like, huge prey.
That's like a very sustainable approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, you know? This parasitic feeding behavior, it really allows it to survive in a habitat where a lot of other predators they couldn't.
Now, speaking of surviving in the deep sea, let's talk about the bioluminescence.
Yeah.
I find this fascinating.
Oh, it's remarkable. So the cookie cutter shark, it has all these light-producing organs called photophores all along its belly.
Oh, yeah?
And you'd think, right, maybe they use this to attract prey, but the cookie cutter shark actually uses it for something completely different.
Okay, I'm very intrigued. So how does a glowing belly help a shark survive in the deep ocean?
Camouflage.
Oh.
It's called counter-illumination. So basically, it emits this faint greenish glow, right? And that glow matches the dim light that filters down from the surface. And because of that, it basically disappears against the backdrop of the deep sea.
Invisible.
Exactly. You know, and this is especially important when they rise to shallower waters at night to feed. That's when they might encounter larger predators.
So they're invisible to anything below them looking up.
You got it.
That's smart.
Clever way to avoid becoming someone else's dinner, right?
Yeah. So that brings us to the nighttime feeding. Why only feed at night?
Well, you know, their preferred prey, the bigger animals, whales, dolphins, large fish, they're much more vulnerable at night. They're less active.
Right.
So by hunting under the cover of darkness, the cookie cutter shark can get close to these much larger animals undetected.
Using the darkness to their advantage.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, it's this incredible stealth that allows them to get close to prey that would otherwise be way too large and powerful for them to handle.
Exactly. It just highlights like every aspect of this shark.
Yeah.
From its jaw to its bioluminescence to being nocturnal. It's all just tailored for this environment.
Yeah, it's a great example of how powerful evolution can be in shaping a creature to fit its environment.
Okay, so one thing I always find fascinating about these deep sea creatures, the names.
Yeah.
Cookie cutter shark. It is descriptive. But where did that even come from?
Well, besides the obvious, you know, the shape of the bite mark, there is a fascinating possibility. The name might have originated from a Japanese term, darumazyme.
Darumazame. Okay, that sounds way more intimidating than cookie cutter.
Right.
What does that even mean?
Daruma refers to Bodhidharma, the Buddhist patriarch. But it's also the name for those round, roly-poly Daruma dolls, those symbols of good luck in Japanese culture.
Yeah, wait, I think I see a connection.
Right.
Are you saying the shark's mouth, when it's open, with those big lips and the circular rows of teeth, it looks like a Daruma doll?
You got it. It's a fascinating example of how a name can reflect, both the physical characteristics and the cultural context of a creature. And in this case, it just adds another layer of mystery to this already pretty mysterious shark.
That's incredible. So we got this small bioluminescent shark with a super specialized jaw that lets it take perfectly round bites out of creatures way bigger than it.
Yeah.
They hide in the depths during the day, come up at night to feed, and they leave behind these signature cookie cutter wounds. It's like their calling card.
Yeah. And despite their, kind of gruesome feeding habits, they're playing a crucial role in that deep sea ecosystem. It just goes to show you how powerful adaptation and specialized skills can be in a really challenging environment.
It really is a reminder there's still so much that we just don't know about the ocean depths and the creatures that live down there.
Absolutely. And the cookie cutter shark is a perfect example of that.
This deep dive has definitely made me want to learn more about these sharks. What other cool facts and stories about the cookie cutter shark do we have in store? Stay tuned, folks, because we're just getting started.
Well, those bite marks, they're kind of like little windows into the secret lives of these sharks. Scientists can actually use them to study like their distribution, their feeding habits, and even how they interact with other species.
It's like their own little breadcrumbs underwater.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
So, for example, we've learned that almost every adult spinner dolphin in Hawaiian waters has cookie cutter shark bites on them.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, which tells us these sharks, they're a pretty common presence in that ecosystem, and they're definitely interacting with these dolphins on the regular.
That's fascinating. It's like there's this whole relationship going on that we, don't even see.
Exactly. And while it might seem, a little bit gruesome, it's probably just a natural part in that ecosystem. Research suggests that this whole parasitic thing, it doesn't really have a big negative impact on the dolphins overall.
So they're not like the villains of the deep,
No, not at all. Just playing their part.
just playing their part.
Yeah. And those bite marks, they help us understand those connections, like
Yeah.
between different species.
It's so cool. I'm curious about those deep dives.
Yeah.
You talked about like the extreme depths,
Right.
but I'm wondering if there are any like benefits to living that
Yeah.
deep
Yeah.
at 3,000 meters or even deeper.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's definitely harsh down there. You got crushing pressure, limited food, but the depths do offer some advantages. Like, it's a pretty good refuge from larger predators.
So it's like a trade-off.
Exactly.
Tougher conditions, but maybe a bit safer.
Yeah. And, there might be some unique food sources down there, too, like deep sea squids, certain types of fish, things you wouldn't find up higher.
That makes sense. Okay, so speaking of food, we've talked a lot about how they hunt, but how do they find their prey in the pitch black?
Well, they have incredible senses, of course. But remember those bioluminescent photophores on their bellies?
Oh, yeah.
Well, turns out those might play a role in hunting too.
Really? I thought that was just for camouflage.
Yes.
To, blend in with the light from above.
Right, that's the main function. But some scientists think they might actually use them to lure in prey.
What?
Yeah, so imagine you're a deep sea fish, right? Looking up, you see this small glowing spot. You might think, hey, easy meal, but nope, it's the cookie cutter shark.
Oh, that's so smart. So it's like multi-purpose.
Yeah, multi-purpose tool, defense, and maybe offense too, like a Swiss Army knife.
Exactly. Okay, so we talked about their scientific name.
Right.
Eustachius, from the Egyptian goddess Isis.
Yeah.
All about light.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned another possible name, origin. The Japanese term Darumazem.
Oh, yeah. So the Ruma refers to those round, roly-poly dolls, symbols of good luck in Japanese culture. And when you look at a cookie-cutter shark's mouth open, those thick lips, circular teeth, you can kind of see the resemblance.
I totally see it now.
Right. It's a cool example of how the name can reflect both, what the animal looks like and the culture it's connected to.
So we have this shark, master of disguise,
Yeah.
stealthy hunter, maybe even a little bit of a trickster, using that bioluminescence to lure in unsuspecting prey.
All happening in one of the most extreme environments on Earth, the deep ocean. It's amazing how resilient life can be.
Speaking of resilience, I remember reading about cookie cutter sharks going after man-made objects, like submarines.
Yeah, that's right. Back in the 70s and 80s, the U.S. Navy, they were baffled. They kept finding these circular dents on their submarines, on the sonar domes.
Seriously?
Yeah, they thought it was like some kind of Soviet weapon.
Oh, wow.
But they talked to some marine biologists, and it turns out cookie cutter sharks.
These little sharks were taking bites out of submarines. Why would they even do that?
Seems they're drawn to those sonar domes. Maybe they thought they were prey because of the electrical signals, or maybe the bioluminescent organisms that grow on submerged surfaces.
So they're adapted for the deep sea, but they can also just add man-made objects to their diet. That's wild.
It shows you how opportunistic they are.
This is why I love the cookie cutter shark. You know, it's a shark, but it's so different from what we normally think of. Small, but mighty. Stealthy, but impactful. Living in the depths, but interacting with the surface world in ways you never expect.
It's a perfect example of how much we still have to learn about the oceans.
This deep dive has been incredible so far. The bites, the bioluminescence, the submarines. The cookie cutter shark is full of surprises.
And it makes you wonder, right? What other secrets are down there just waiting to be discovered?
Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into the cookie cutter shark, there's one more thing we need to talk about. Their life cycle.
Yeah.
We've talked about how they thrive, but what about their, reproduction? What do we know about the early life of these sharks?
Well, that's where things get a little murky, actually. There's still a lot we don't know,
Right.
but we do know they're oviviparous.
Okay.
So that means the eggs, they develop and hatch inside the mother's body.
Oh, interesting.
So she gives birth to live young.
So no cute little shark nurseries down there?
Not that we know of.
Yeah.
But what's cool is the pups. They're born with fully functional jaws and teeth.
Oh, wow.
Ready to go. Ready to start biting.
So they're like mini cookie cutters from day one.
Exactly. And all those adaptations, the jaws, the bioluminescence, it all ensures that they can survive in that tough environment right from the start.
This deep dive has been awesome.
It has.
We've learned so much about their biology, their adaptations. It's just incredible how they make it work in the deep sea.
Yeah, they really are amazing creatures, a perfect example of the diversity of life we have in our oceans.
And even with all we've learned today, there are still so many questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how do they use their bioluminescence to actually, attract prey? What other deep sea animals are they hanging out with down there? How will climate change affect their habitat? There's a lot more research to be done.
So many mysteries still to uncover.
Exactly.
It's exciting to think, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to figure some of this stuff out.
I love that.
So to all our deep divers out there, keep exploring. Keep asking questions. Keep being curious about nature. You never know what you might find, even in the darkest depths of the ocean.
Well said.
Yeah.
Keep diving.